Hello everyone again. So we will start the call now, and meanwhile the other people then they can join. Otherwise, we will continue. So if you have any Q&A, you can raise your hand, and I'll allow you to speak, and then you can answer, ask the questions or the queries or issues which you have related to your resume, right? So agenda for this call is like eight different the steps, or we can say the bullet point which I've created, which we need to cover throughout this the call. We will start with some of the common issues and kind of the background research which the recently Harvard Business School they have done, and some of the other resume professional in the industry, what are the research they have done. So we'll go through them. What this is like most of the 40% of the hiring manager, they spend less than a minute to review a particular resume. So this, the time frame, which is very crucial to get their attention and make sure like our resume is, the standing out and, the meeting the requirement which they are looking forward. So less than a minute when they are, the screening a resume, and we are part of, the people from the, the talent pool. So how can we make sure like our resumes stand out within that less than a minute, which that they are putting into every resume? So we need to have some the eye-catchy thing, not only just about putting some random the irrelevant the wording or the description which is not related to the job. One of the concern what happens like there's a no easy and quick way the crafting a compelling the and effective resume. Most of the time we think like today I'm going to apply for this role, and I'll sit 1 hour 2 hour and spend on those time, and I'll create a compelling resume. It's not going to work out that. Okay, so we have to we can't say like the sit down and hammer it out in an hour. It's not going to work out that, right? So when let's say we are putting this resume, it's not only the resume or the work experience. It is basically a marketing document where we are marketing ourselves. Like, are we the genuine person to take care of this responsibility? Can the hiring manager and the HR they count on us for the the responsibilities or the jobs they are looking us? So basically, this is the marketing document, that I call in this way, where you are marketing yourself to the hiring manager and the recruiter to the clear the first step which is breaking you between and the hiring manager to have the the first call. Okay, so now most of the time, let's say what people they write, let's say they write in the summary like I'm highly motivated professional. It doesn't make sense. So if you are just putting some the random wording, I'm highly motivated or I'm a good team player, they are kind of the outdated stuff. What people say like you are basically highlighting like you are more valuable than the anyone else. So it is kind of the you started selling yourself. This is not what they are expecting. So we will see how can you improve these type of the other section. So for example, let's say if you have almost the 5-10 years of experience into healthcare industry, and you want to create your resume. Now this can be similar experience related to your role. So I know like Priyanka, you are from the DevOps and cloud, the those type of the experience. So you can create your resume, or we can say the first which is the summary section, or your the career highlight section, and that you can create in this way. So the healthcare executive they can say like I'm a healthcare executive with, let's say, 10 years of experience leading providers of superior patient care. And if, let's say, that person is from the sales and business development, then they can say strategy and business development executive with, the experience designing, leading, and implementing broad range of corporate growth and realignment initiative. If you are from the DevOps, you can say I'm a kind of, the seasonal DevOps professional with 10 years of experience, or you can say 10 years of global experience executing and migrating large-scale software applications. So this will be just 1 to 2 lines of the career summary or the highlight, which the recruiter they will see when they open or kind of the access your resume at first, the go, right? Most of the time, what happens like people they just list their responsibilities. Like I was responsible to, I'll take the example since the Priyanka is there. So they'll say like I was responsible to managing the migration project. So this is just your job duties, or we can say the responsibilities. You should not include like this. You say like, I manage 10 different projects with zero production, the issues reported. Okay. So what is showing? It is showing the accomplishment which you have, the achieve within the team. It's not the saying like you deliver or you completed 10 production release, right? So those type of things. And then, you know, some of the things like keep your LinkedIn profile also to align with the resume which you are putting forward. Most of the time when the people, the HR, they open your resume, they open the LinkedIn profile and there is no alignment. Your profile is talking something else, it is outdated, or your resume is outdated and there is no alignment, it is the mismatch. Okay, so those type of things. So since we are talking about the summary, the same summary section is there about me into the LinkedIn also. So you can put it into the kind of the first person language. So you can say like, I firmly believe in the transformative power of the management and mentorship, or like that. Or you can say, I truly believe into the power of technology to the migrate the projects. Or you can say like, I truly believe into the healthcare, the accessibility for everyone, or like that. So you should write that into the first person. Okay, so it can say like, you are a living the human being and you are somebody who is the writing in that first person. So it should make when they the people read it. Now some of the steps we call as a kind of the 10 different steps which I usually recommend to the people, and when we create the resume I follow basically these the structure. So first thing, like, you just the gather the plain information about your career summary, or the jobs which you have done in the past. So in the plain Word document, just gather all the information. Okay, and now this can be for the any available role or the opportunity which you are trying to apply. First, gather everything onto the plain paper which is there. The second thing, like, pick the resume format. Okay, so pick the resume format. What I mean to say, like, because today across the globe, different organizations, they are operating into the MNC environment. So let's say if you are working a particular organization in UK, you might have a different format. Let's say maybe into the reverse chronological format, and they might highlight the skill, the versus the experience. Or when you are working, let's say into the US, they might highlight, let's say, the experience more compared to the skill, or like that. Right? So you need to find a country specific format, which country you are applying. If you are sitting in India and your MNC belong to, let's say, Germany, or let's say Canada or Australia, then you need to think about from that country perspective, because your hiring manager might be sitting into Australia, Canada, or the UK counterpart, those type of things. So, right. So picking the format is, the very much, the important in the first step. The second thing we need to do, find the contact information. So most of the time you see like people just put, some irrelevant, the contact information. What the HR they are looking your email ID, your phone, and maybe location. So you can say like from India or from UK or from US or like that. Okay. They are not looking for exactly the address street where you are living, or they are not looking for, let's say, your personal profile photo or the contact, the kind of, the details. They are not looking for your marital status or the gender. So I have seen like most of the time people, they put this irrelevant information into the contact, the section, which is saying like, as an immature candidate, you don't know how to structure your resume, right? So we need to, take care about that. The step 4 is like, we should like write a compelling the resume summary. And how can you follow? You write your accomplishment rather than just putting the kind of, your, the responsibilities, the one we discussed before. The next step here in the career, the history section, and some of them they call as a career progression. So when I work with the recruiter here in Australia, they call it as a career progression. They'll say like, we don't believe in career history. It sounds kind of like, something else. So we need to highlight the career progression, and it will be into, we can say, the reverse chronological order. So your most recent career, or let's say the job expertise, will be aligned at the top, and then the before that, and like that in reverse chronological order, right? So that will be the career section. The step 6, we need to have the kind of the skill section. So this skill section will consist your technical as well as the soft skill also, right? So most of the time when, let's say, the IT, the folks, they are applying, they only include the technical skill, and they are thinking like, if I fit at least 15-20 different skill, I'm going to stand out. It's not going to work that way, because today you are going to work not only as an individual contributor, you are going to interact with the global team. So your soft skill, let's say, for example, your communication, your negotiation, your documentation, your team handling activities, those are equally important. So how many of them you should include? Just 2, 3 of them, 4 of them should be okay. Don't search onto the Google and GPT and find like 10, the soft skill and fit everything into your resume. Again, it's not going to work out, right? So you need to make sure like what is being asked into their job description. So if you are looking the job description and they are saying like, we are expecting a global team player. So that is the most recent and the relevant skill which you should have into your resume when you are thinking about putting the soft skill, right? So you can understand from that point, like what they are expecting. Are you giving that skill to them or not? If there is a alignment between what they are expecting and your skill set, chances are there they will pick you. And that is the one of the mistake candidate they do. They create one resume and they keep applying to the 10 different jobs, and they are not getting the call from anywhere because this is the outdated, this is not the relevant, the resume. So instead of applying to the 10 job, just apply to the 5 job or 7 job, but tailor your resume according to the each job which you are applying. Otherwise it's not going to work. I've seen many candidate doing this thing with a lot of the HR and consultancy company by now. And we tailor the resume when we apply to the new job. We tailor it every time. Whether what particular section we tailor, that is a different story. But you have to make sure like what is being asked into the resume, is your resume is telling the same story or not. If it is not relevant to the job description, they will not shortlist your resume at first place, and you will receive the automatic reply because everybody is using the systems and AI tools. They'll say like, if this skill set is not matching 80%, 60%, 70%, they decide that number. So you will be receiving the automatic response like, you are not selected, thank you for applying, right? So those type of things. So number 7 step is like, we should have the project section. And this is the another big mistake candidate they do. They highlight the experience. So they'll say like, I was working with Infosys since last 3 years, and these are the my achievements or my the job duties. They don't include what are the type of the project you have been doing. So if as a hiring manager, when the recruitment partner they source your resume, they given to me, I'm looking into that resume, and I'm expecting somebody to work into the, let's say, the cloud technology, and I'm expecting somebody to work as a sales, the business development into Asia, the specific region or like that. So if I don't see like that you have a the done the cloud, the migration project in the past which is related to the AWS, then I don't see any fitment within your profile and my expectation. But if I see like, okay, you have done 3 projects related to this area in the past, and these are the tools or the skill set which you have used, then it makes more sense to me to hire you rather than somebody kind of the fresher or junior. They don't have any experience, so I have to train them. It will be a lot of the costing in terms of the learning and development, those type of the initiative, right? So you should clearly highlight not only the experience. So you'll say like 1 or 2 line, that was my experience, my kind of the accomplishment or the achievement which I have done. And then these are the 3 different projects with the tools and the skill set which you have achieved. So definitely you should have the project section if by now, if you are not using that. And at the last, you can put the step number 8 or the section where it is about your education, your certification. So those are the things, they go hand by hand. And when I'm saying the education and certification, doesn't mean you have to include all the 10 different certification or training which you have done. If you are applying for a particular job, the certification or the training which you have done should be the most recent updated one, and they should be the relevant to the role. If you are applying again related to the cloud, use only the certification and training related to the cloud. If you are applying related to, let's say, the business analyst where I train most of the people, then you should include only the certification or trainings or some kind of the free online courses, whatever things you have done related to the business analyst. Doesn't make sense if you are including something related to sales, marketing, or let's say QA and those type of things, because again it's not a kind of the fitment what you are providing and what they are looking, right? So they should be the relevant. And then step number 10, we should have the optional resume section, so which can go with, let's say, extracurricular activities or any volunteering experience, or let's say any references from your previous employer and those type of things. So right, so these are basically the 10 step we should have into a resume. Okay, now some of the common issues which I highlighted earlier also, people create like, they don't create a tailored resume specific to the role. So they create one type of the resume and apply to all the roles. Or sometime when you are putting, it's a technical roles, you are putting too much the technical jargon. You are thinking like, I go to the job description and they are expecting 5 different the keywords or technical things, and I'm putting, let's say, 10 of them or 15 of them. Then you are thinking like, it's going to give them like, I know more programmings or I know more tools or skill set. It's not going to work out again. right? So if they are expecting you 5, you might have, let's say 6, 7, but there's no point including 15 of them, 20 of them just to fill the detail into the resume. It's not going to work out, right? And then again, not highlighting the measurable achievements. So most of the time we say like, I manage cloud infrastructure or I manage end-to-end requirement. So it doesn't make sense when I read as a hiring manager. So you should say like, I optimize cloud infrastructure to reduce cost by 20% while improving the system uptime by, let's say, 10%. Or you'll say like I created the requirements, the scope of the requirements, which reduce the scope creep by 20%, and which help the Scrum team to deliver those requirement or feature on time. And there was no incident in terms of the production release, or there was no major issue reported in last 3 sprint. So that will show the achievement, simply not by saying like, I manage end-to-end requirements or I deliver the AWS, the cloud infrastructure. It doesn't make sense because we are living in 24. The market is kind of, the saturated, number of the limited jobs are there, and people, they are doing anything to get into the kind of, that first step. So you should put a lot of, the attention what you are writing into that resume, rather than just waiting and watching like whether the recruiter will call me or not, just by sending some random document to them. It's not going to work out. Then some of the time I've seen like very poor formatting. So when create the resume, for the senior guys also, they don't pay too much attention. They think like, I'm having 10 years of experience, 15 years of experience on the kind of the paper. Why should I care about formatting? So some random bullet point, grammatical mistakes, a lot of things are there, right? Whether you are good in speaking or not, that will be decided once you get a call. But whether you are good in writing or not, your resume should be properly formatted. There should not be any grammatical mistakes, any kind of the formatting issues and alignment issues and those type of things, right? Most of the time we ignore ATS optimization. So these are basically application tracking system, and they work based on to the keyword. So ATS, the tracking, how does it work? So if let's say as a hiring manager, I given a job description, it contains 5 different, the technical words, and the 5, the soft skill which I'm looking. Now, when I run this system, it's a software, I scan through your resume, and if it is matching, let's say I'm saying 80% of those keywords which I'm looking, then automatically shortlist your resume. So that's why I'm highlighting again, you need to tailor your resume to the role which you are applying. So if that is the system I'm using and I'm giving the command or instruction as 80% exactly matching keyword, only filter or shortlist those resume. So if you are sending any random resume, your resume will not be shortlisted through this system. Doesn't matter how good you are as a person, doesn't matter how well you have performed in the previous organization or project, right? It's not going to produce any result, and you will be rejected at the very first step. Most of the time we put irrelevant experience. That is also one of the things like, so if you are applying for, let's say, the business analyst requirement, and you are putting the experience related to the sales or marketing, it will be irrelevant. If you are applying for the DevOps engineer and you are putting the experience related to, let's say, the QA, it will be irrelevant again. So you need to strictly highlight to the experience. So how can you do that? So if let's say 3 years you spend as a QA, and then 10 years you spend as a, let's say, the DevOps engineer. So 3 years, just highlight 1 or 2 line, like as a quality kind of, the manager or the QA engineer, but a maximum contribution or the highlight into your resume should be the DevOps part which you are applying, not the QA part. So there's no point filling the 50% of your resume, or let's say 20% of your resume, with the irrelevant experience, and you are explaining that irrelevant experience. There is no point. The more they will see that, they will say like, this profile is not relevant what we are looking. So try to minimize that section if you are trying to highlight the experience, if you don't want to show the gap, but try to minimize that section and highlight the section which have the relevant experience and the skill set which you are applying, right? So this is another, the very the common issue I see into the lot of resume. And then they are putting the phrase like, I'm a team oriented, or the team player, result driven. These are nothing, the nonsense that doesn't work in today's environment. So again, you should give the properly kind of your achievement, those type of things. Give the examples, give the scenario, like why you are a detail oriented person, why you are a good team player. So those type of things, highlight them rather than just writing those keywords, right? And then sometimes people, they see like 3-4 different pages. So your resume should not exceed any time between 1 to 2 pages. It should never go the more than 2 pages anytime, right? So that is, and the more experience you have, let's say you have 10 years of experience, 15 years of experience, you can cut it down. So if you ask me what will be the resume for a CEO or the VP, they will make it maximum a single page or half of the page. They will highlight, okay, the VP of this organization, 3-year experience, launch 3, the global products, manage to 50 people or like that. So these are the only bullet points. But you are having anything between 5 to 10 years of experience, then highlight maximum 2 pages of the resume and properly structured and formatted, right? So those type of things. And then most of the time when we are, let's say, into the IT roles or let's say the BA roles, and then we are not giving any portfolio or the kind of, the supporting links. So if you are into the IT, Priyanka, this is, this specifically for you, you should have a very good LinkedIn and the GitHub profile. If your GitHub profile is not maintained properly, then as a software engineer or the DevOps guy, this is the what I will check as a hiring manager. And if I see like you don't have a GitHub profile at all, then I doubt your capabilities, which you are claiming as a 10-year person into your resume. So if you don't have that, then you start today building. So it can be GitHub profile, or you can create your own portfolio. So for example, if you are applying for the BA, then you create the list of the documents and which you can put into a simple Google Drive, give that link or attachment into that, the resume. So you can say, here's my portfolio, or I have created previous, these type of the documents. I have written some user story, and this is where you can find it. So you don't have to build a website and do all the kind of, technical stuff. Put those documents into a Google Drive, attach the link so people can access it. Okay. Most of the time people will not do this thing because this is requiring a lot of, the commitment, hard works, and people try to skip that part, but there is no easy way. Okay. And coming to, let's say, the GitHub and those type of if let's say is the UX designer, maybe you can create some kind of, the Figma related templates. You can create, the designs on Drupal, or you can create the GitHubs. But the bottom line, the concept remains the same. Whatever the role you are applying, you should have that portfolio. And today building the portfolio is quite easy. If you are working as a DevOps engineer, create some kind of, the small projects, like how you create, let's say, the S3, the deployments, or how you kind of, the migrate the project from, let's say, standalone to, let's say, AWS cloud, or how, let's say, Azure, the environment works. What are the, the steps, setups, create some MD files, put it there. So it will show some activity being there onto the GitHub, and commits are made every month, or let's say every weekly basis or something like that, right? So these are some of the issues. And then, which I seen quite, the common into the resume. So now let's take a pause, and maybe, the asked, since 2 of you are there, that's okay. So you can ask some of the other question, queries, and issues you think your resume contain, and then I will move to the next part of, this discussion. So if you want to speak, you can raise your hand and I'll allow you to speak about it. Priyanka, you want to try?
Yes, Sandeep.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to ask few things like I have seen all these points while I'm creating my resume.
Yeah.
So I need to follow these ATS rules, and I need to tailor my resume according to the requirement.
Yeah.
But while we are aggressively looking for a new job, new role, the requirements are different in every company, and they by doing everything, it's making hard.
Yeah.
So why can't we prepare only one resume, what we have done, and why we can't keep that, and why we can't do marketing that resume?
Yeah.
And second one, by portfolioing ourselves through the GitHub. So if we are starting now, means the dates and the period which we are started, it also showcase to the who are looking for our profile also, right? So does it make any problem, or if we start now, whether it becomes any positive?
Yeah. So these are very, the valid question. And then I'll, the answer both of them now. So what happens, let's say the first part of the question, like, why can't we keep a single resume and then kind of, the keep marketing the same resume across the different job profiles? This is not a suitable approach. What we can do, make it easy for you guys when, let's say, we are applying to the multiple job. It's not an easy task because you have to fill a lot of information onto their website or Workday or wherever they are asking you to submit the application. And at the same time, you are doing the tailoring your resume also. So what you can do in your resume, you can divide into two different components. So we can say like first is the kind of, the static component, and another one is the dynamic or the flexible, whatever you call it. So what I mean to say that static component never change into your resume whenever you are applying. And this you create as a template into a Word document. So you see like the section 1, if it is a summary, then it's going to be, the same for me. If it is a contact detail, this part never going to change. My contact detail always remain the same irrespective of the job I'm applying. My education never going to change. My name of the company or duration of the company where I work, it's never going to change. What it's going to change, basically the project. So even if you just focus onto the project and skill, just these two sections into your entire resume, again, you can make at least 80% of the, the relevant to the job which you are applying. So just change the project and the skill. If they are looking, let's say, these three skill into your skill as a technical, definitely you should include those things. If you are including these soft skill, then definitely you should include. And project which you have done, make those project according to the role which you are applying. Again, if you put the irrelevant projects, then again, you will sound like, this person have no experience into that. So next time when you apply, please just focus onto these two things only, and definitely, it should work. The second, the answer like creating the GitHub and any other portfolio now. Okay. Yes, it will show like why you have not created earlier. But the reverse, I think about it, this career which you are planning, it's not 1 year, 2 year. It's kind of, the marathon. You are running it for 15 years, 20 years down the line. So you have not done, we can't do anything about that. If by now, if you don't have GitHubs, you don't have proper commits and all those, we can't do anything. But even if you start it now on weekly basis, what you can do, like it will grow, it will improve over a period of time. So even weekly basis, if let's say you are committing some of the changes or you are uploading some of the documentation related to the cloud professional or related to, let's say, business analyst or related to project management, then it is showing your regular contribution. It is showing like you are committed in terms of the knowledge sharing and you are building your portfolio. So rather than a negative thing, it will show as a kind of, the positive attributes by this candidate. And it's okay to have it now rather than, the not having it anytime, right? So I hope this answered your question, Priyanka.
Yes, Sandeep. So, do we have any sample things how we can do for the GitHub portfolios or something else?
So the GitHub sample will be like, since let's say you are the DevOps guy, so you pick up the skill set and start with basic installation or let's say setup of those things. So I highlighted, let's say, the AWS. So AWS, see what are the different services are there. If there is a, let's say, S3 is there, AWS, let's say Lambda is there, or let's say, for example, like, CloudFront and anything is there, EC2 is there. So I think you are not there. Okay, Firmsik, you have any question? If I spell your name correctly. So you can raise your hand, I'll allow you to speak. Yeah. Yeah, you can unmute yourself, please, and you can speak. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Thank you so much. No questions so far.
No question.
It was very insightful what you said, and I had never heard of that GitHub, that portfolio
Yeah.
to do for CVs. Very useful. Thank you.
Yeah, all good. Okay, then I have a couple of other points which I would like to highlight. So, we talk about a lot in terms of, let's say, AI tools and how the HR people, they are, screening the resume and how can you take the advantage of this AI things and all those. So that is the, the next part of it. So a couple of tools which I use kind of, in terms of the resume creation, basically I follow the Nova Resume, Enhanced CV and the Canva. So these are the basically three things I do use when I create the resume for the candidates, right? So Novo Resume or Enhanced CV or the Canva, they have the free version also, they have the paid version also. There might be some watermark, there might be some, the limitation in terms of the editings, all those things, but you can use these tools. And then otherwise you can simply use the Word document, create a kind of, the Excel also. You can create an Excel template. And when we use the Word document, you might not have the proper formattings and you'll see a lot of, the spacing is there. But when we use the Excel, we can, eliminate those extra spaces, because in Excel, we have the individual, the cell, and you can merge those cells and you create the additional, the spaces, which is covered by only the bullet point or something like that. So I would highly recommend you should start using Excel to start creating the resume rather than using the Word document. Okay, Excel, it really look good. And then some of it AI powered, the resume enhancer. That means they improve the scoring system. So one I quietly, the frequently use is the resume worded, okay, or is the job scan. So these are the two mostly I use. So one is the resume worded and another is the job scan, which I use. Okay. Some of the keyword optimization tools. So let's say for the role which you are applying. Okay. So for example, let's say the technical roles. The CV compiler is the one. Priyanka, you can check it. One is the CV compiler. So it mostly focus on to the tech professional. So if you are applying for the DevOps role, or if you are applying for, let's say, cloud engineer, you can get the relevant, the roles with a very high scoring and all those. Because if you are just simply searching to the Google, simply searching the job description, still we might miss something. 100% can't be true. Anything 100% is not true in the globe. But still we try to increase those scores and those, the areas into our resume. So CV compiler is the one thing you can check it, Priyanka. Okay. Now, how the HR professional, they check or they use, these tools. So one of them is the ATS format. So that means like what is the keywords they are asking in the resume, and then what are things or how much, your resume is giving the score. So those type of things. Most of the time you see nowadays HR, they use like HireTool. This is one of the the which I seen with here HR. They use for the sourcing and the qualifying candidates based on to the skill and the experience which you have put it. Okay. Other time they use, let's say, HireVue. This is also a AI powered tool. So it creates some, the games or kind of, checking your, the cognitive, the abilities, your problem solving abilities, and those type of the things. And HireVue, they create, the video, the interviews. So analyzing, let's say, your tone, your kind of, the choices of the words, and, your body language, and kind of, your, the given some prompts, how you are doing the answer for those things. So not only the content or the document as a resume you submitted, they analyze through the video and the, in the screening process also. And these tools, sometimes they can be kind of, unfair also to judge the kind of, the experienced candidate, which they might not perform well into during this, the video calls and all those. And you are really having a good skill set, but you rejected due to this AI tool because they are not giving you the very high score as per the expectation of the hiring manager. So it is a drawbacks also, and we might lose good candidate when we are, using these tools, right? So now, I think mostly to the end, and then kind of, some of the recommendation, which again, I would like to highlight to you guys. So use the relevant keywords, make it kind of, customize according to the job, and what you can do, at least focus on to the project and the skill set. At least those two, the areas should be aligned to the job which you are applying, right? And then you can do the quantify on the achievement. So like improve system uptime by 30%, or, the perform, three different, the global stakeholder management across the globe, and, the deliver 3 end-to-end, the product release in the last, the 1 year or something like that, right? So those type of things. One of the other point I see, like people make it too fancy. They put, let's say, a lot of, the images or designs and those type of things. When these tools or the scoring system, they are going to work, they are going to reject your resume if they are finding too much irrelevant and so many, the images. So you might have come across like people, putting their company logo or putting the certification logo, or let's say having their images, all those things, they are not required. Keep it very simple, neat and clean, and then it will score more compared to when you are putting too much graphics into your resume. So don't push too much graphics into your resume. It will reduce, your scoring based on to the ATS, right? The scoring system. So that is another point. Any question here, Priyanka? Did you got the answer you were expecting? Maybe you can raise your hand, and I think you disconnected. All good? Okay. Okay. So I think that's all. I would like to discuss with you guys since we don't have many candidates. And if you have any question, Prem 6 at last moment, so we can talk about that with both of you. Okay. Then that's all I would like to discuss today. And next time, I'll see you again with, the something else. So probably, have this meeting, the soon again. If you have any question, we can talk it about now. Otherwise, thank you for joining.